Welcome to Deep Fat Fried, everybody. How you doing?
Hello.
Hey.
Howdy.
How?
How's everyone feeling today?
How you feeling, Scotty?
Where am I?
I don't know. Deep Fat Fried.
Oh.
How you feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, deep fat fried. Oh, terrible. Horrible.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, just feeling awful.
That sucks, man.
I'm
Well,
feeling
you
pretty
know,
good.
I mean, when you have people, you think there's people in your life that care about you.
You thought that?
Yeah, I thought about that, dude. I thought, I invite. Look, TJ, I don't want to make this. I don't want to belabor this. And I gave Stevie another chance with his pot roast.
Wow.
Invite him a third time.
Third time, huh?
He chose not to attend.
Three strikes, you're out.
I was actually sent images from one of Stevie's friends. I think he felt bad for me. It was actually Stevie just on a bender, just partying. I saw strippers,
Drinking, strippers.
I mean, it was just horrible. So
instead of enjoing a pot roast dinner
I've
that you
actually
made.
contacted Jacob Rosenthal, and a lawsuit against Stevie is forthcoming.
Wow.
Intent to inflict emotional distress upon me. Guys, I'm just devastated. I just don't know what else to do. I've tried to reason with Stevie. I think this lawsuit is going to reveal a lot of the wrong Stevie has done.
Wow.
I can tell in your voice that you're very serious about this. Stevie, better look out, man. If you're going all the way to Jacob Rosenthal, I mean, that's the lawyer you call when you want somebody buried.
I don't intend to win any money. I mean, I know Stevie doesn't have any money. It's not
Right.
about that. It's about the principle.
About the principles. So how much you suing him for?
I'm suing him for $37 million.
$37 million.
A reasonable sum
sum
these days.
of money. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I
I mean,
feel
we know
it's
Stevie
fair.
can't pay it, but we just to have that judgment against him.
I think that would be
Just
fair
to know.
compensation for the emotional distress he's inflicted on you.
Now, I'm a reasonable man. I'm willing to settle if Stevie can come to the table. He wants to pay
And
me.
eat a pot. What if he promises to eat a pot roast with you?
I think Stevie would have to eat pot roast at my house. Look, I think this is an offer I'll make Stevie now. If he accepts it, then we can just avoid this whole lawsuit. If Stevie comes over to my house each night for a week and eats pot roast, then maybe I can consider just dropping.
Maybe
the
you'll
lawsuit.
forgive him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, that's a generous offer,
And I expect him.
considering Jacob Rosenthal
We'll take
is
turns.
on the
the
board
first night
here.
I'll make the pot roast. The second night I expect him to bring a pot roast. And we'll trade off.
Trade pot roasts for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that seems like fair compensation either way. $37 million or pot roast for a week.
How come Stevie hasn't made a video on his channel in 4 months now?
Yeah. What's going on there?
Yeah, can we see Stevie's
Why is he so
latest-
scared?
What's Stevie's latest video, dude?
I mean, I think we've even looked at this before. It hasn't changed.
Oh, it hasn't changed? Oh.
In
'Cause
4
it's been
months?
4 months. See? Here we are, Under Creations.
Yeah. And he stopped
Terrible,
right in the middle of the...
terrible fucking banner, by the way.
Well, I mean, whatever. It's
I'm
simple.
gonna-
It's simple, TJ.
I'm going to call up Stevie right now and ask him.
Yeah, where's the hell's the
I'm
content,
not-
Stevie?
look, the lawsuit thing, I'm not going to get into because, Stevie's going to have that soon enough on his plate.
Yeah, well, he'll just deal with that as it happens.
We're asking Stevie why Under Creations doesn't have any new videos.
Yeah, where's the new Under Creations videos, bitch?
Hello?
Hey, Stevie, what's up?
Nothing much. Just hanging out with my buddy Colton.
Oh, okay, cool, man. Well, we're just doing Deep Fat Fry. We're wondering why haven't you made any videos in 4 months? We're just looking, we want to go your channel, check out what you've done lately, and we do not see any new content.
Why you asking?
Just want to, because we were, I personally was watching that Resident Evil 2 remake, and it stopped right in the middle.
Alrighty.
You're not going to make any more videos?
I'm going to.
You're going to?
I'm just trying to concentrate on other things right now.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we were just wondering about the status of your channel. People wanted to know. They said, "Hey, Stevie hasn't made new videos in a long time," so we just wanted to figure out what was going on with that. So you're working on some new ones.
I'm not working on any right now. I'm just
Oh, okay. You're not working on any right now.
the last thing I worked on was Resident Evil 2 Part 1, but for Claire.
Oh, okay. Just didn't the work didn't speak to you this time.
The work. I'll just talk to you guys later.
All right, bye, Stevie.
God damn, dude.
Oh man, that conversation was. Oh man.
Dude, Stevie, why are you making fun of me? Dude, I legitimately asked Stevie legitimate questions. He just Ben Shapiro'd me. Why are you asking me? It's like, I'm asking you like normal questions. I'm actually trying not even to make fun of you. And it still went there. It still literally went there. I wasn't even trying to make fun of Stevie.
My brother TJ's house. I don't know where he is. Judging by the smell.
And you know
must
what?
be in the bathroom.
And you know what?
Disgusting.
Here's the thing about Stevie. Everyone tries to be involved in Stevie's life to some degree, and Stevie doesn't want it. He always acts like you just make fun of him. But literally, I'm like, hey, Stevie, come to my house and do this. No, I don't really. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be here. Like, okay. And then it's like, why are you making fun of me? It's like, because you're being agoraphobic and you're making excuses why you don't want to do things. Like, you're bringing it on yourself. Like,
Oh, Stevie. It sounds like he was hanging out right now.
Yeah.
well, that's because Colton comes to Stevie's house and is in his room.
Okay.
Stevie, it doesn't involve Stevie going anywhere. If Stevie actually went somewhere, I would at least respect that. I would just say, like if it was just like living his own life, but just don't stay in your fucking mom's goddamn house the rest of your life, Stevie. Go out and experience the world, man.
Yeah.
Like, look, he's
The joys of
and
the
he's
world.
depressed because of it. Stevie's like really fucking depressed, and
I can tell. Well, like, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Because
you can tell on the phone conversation. It's like, yeah.
he's I'm just hanging out.
Just hanging out here.
You can tell that the channel's a sore subject too. He's probably been too depressed to sit down and finish up Resident Evil. You know, he needs to get out. He needs to get some sunshine on his shoulders.
You know what? That's actually our settlement for the lawsuit. Fuck the pot roast. Stevie has to spend a week outside of his house.
Shirtless.
Stevie's not allowed to be in his house ever again.
Well, at least 1 week. Dude.
He's got to set up a tent on.
You know what we
on,
gotta do?
on the premises.
He can go stay with his
We
friends.
gotta go
he can
fucking
go do whatever, but
we
he
gotta
can't
go.
be in the house.
No, we gotta go abduct Stevie and drop him off in the middle of Montana.
What giant fucking wrestler are we gonna hire to help us corral Stevie? Because I don't think the three of us are gonna be able to do it. He's got a giant. Have you seen that halberd right by the door?
Just get a fucking dart, you know.
Oh, okay. You're gonna hit him with a.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
We better get one that's like meant to take down like a bear or
Yeah,
something.
we need to get like a bear tranquilizer.
Yeah.
Shoot him down with that. Then when he's under, we'll put him in a shipping.
because that
crate with
doesn't happen
holes in it.
immediately. So he's gonna be pissed off about the dart. So we're
Right.
gonna have to be ready to run.
So what we'll do is we'll hire a couple of
gonna be-
rodeo clowns to distract him in his rage.
Okay, yeah. So we'll hit him with the dart, and then we'll all run out the front door. And then when he runs after us, there'll be some rodeo clowns there, like, whoa, whoa, and he'll start to feel groggy, and he's like, hey, stop! You know, we'll be down the driveway.
Put him in a cage.
They should be used to it.
Yeah.
And
put
we'll
him
have
in
a
cage.
time lock. We'll drop it in Montana. It'll be
Yeah.
a time lock.
We're gonna drop him in Montana. We're gonna give him a survival kit and a little bit of money. And you know,
I like this idea. There's about 20 felonies already, just getting to the point we're at now, but you know, it might be worth doing.
I think it's worth it.
You know.
You know, I like to live as if there is no law, so we'll just do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The survival of
You know?
Stevie.
We'll just
Really?
Yeah, we'll just go drop Stevie off. in
You
the
like
middle
to
of
live
Montana.
as if there is no law,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Stevie
do
2.0
what thou
has
wilt.
been
shall
dropped.
the whole
Okay,
of the
all
law,
right,
you know?
all
Has
right.
been dropped in a remote
We
spot
dropped Stevie in
in
Montana.
the middle of remote Montana.
And he
A man on
we
a
have him
mission.
fight his way back
Dude,
to Louisiana.
it could be the end of fall too, man. They'd be like,
And either he dies or he comes back and he's a fucking better man.
you know what?
Right.
Fuck yeah, dude. So we're doing like the
Win-win.
300 method, dude. Go
Yeah.
out and prove yourself, Stevie.
A vision quest.
If you fucking come back alive, you're good. You're in, dude. Don't worry about it.
I'm telling
If
you,
you don't?
I had to do the vision quest thing. I got a little earlier than Stevie, but I got kicked out of my house at like 18 and sent to Arizona for my peyote vision quest.
Cool.
And by the time I came back to Madera, I was a man. I left Madera a boy
Return to man.
to the deserts of Arizona to learn the skills to survive, and then I came back to Madera a man, a warrior of my tribe.
Cool. Pretty awesome.
As you should.
That's all Stevie needs to do. See, he thinks it's permanent. He thinks, oh, if I move out, you know, I'll never be able to come back to, you know, the place where all my family is. No. You go out, you learn to be, and then you come back a warrior of your tribe.
Warrior.
You go out a man that makes 10 foil balls, and you come back a man that knows how to forge a fucking sword.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Can you forge a sword, Paul?
I didn't go that path.
That's a different path.
Yeah.
But
There's
Stevie-
all different paths. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The world is his oyster. If he wants to be a fucking blacksmith, boom, there's a path to that. You know, I hear Stevie he loves weapons. He loves the swords and shit. Mm-hmm. He wants to learn how to make
Dude,
that shit. It ain't too late. He's
Oh,
big.
dude,
He's burly.
I tried to. I was like, Steve, let's do an episode of Deep Fat Fried on you, Stevie, and he wouldn't do it. He's like, no, I must gracefully
I
and thoughtfully decline this fire offer. He didn't want to do it. I was like, Stevie, you need to do it, man. And he wouldn't do it. I told him, like, you know what, Steve, unless you're on board, we ain't going to do it, though. It's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, we won't. We wouldn't do that.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame. But, well.
We always clear our targets, before we do a show on them.
Of course. Every time.
Sometimes you got to kick people in the nuts.
Speaking of a show.
Yeah, is there a show?
There's a weird
is this
one
a Stevie
tonight.
show? What's going on?
Because TJ told me during one of our recent meetings that we filmed for $10 patrons, where we plan out all the shows for a couple of weeks or a month, that he wanted me to deep fat fry Chevy Chase. So, a weird topic, but Chevy Chase, Maryland, is the name of both a town and an unincorporated census-designated place. Chevy Chase, CDP, Maryland.
Yeah.
A lot of little things have gone on in the town. I don't know really where you want to start, TJ.
I mean, it's your episode, dude.
Yeah, I know, but there's
Maryland's a state I don't really know much.
Yeah, I don't
about
really ever
Maryland.
think about Maryland,
Yeah, it's right near Washington, D.C., I know Chevy Chase is.
Right.
Okay.
So it's on the outskirts of Washington. God damn it, TJ. You were supposed to call me on this, and you just let me hoist myself by my own petard.
No, I was talking about Chevy Chase, Maryland.
You did not want me
TJ,
to
look.
deep fat fry Chevy Chase,
They
Maryland.
have the Ballad of
That's what
Chevy
I'm talking
Chase. Look right there, TJ. Click on that, dude.
The Ballad of Chevy Chase?
The Ballad. Wow.
An English ballad cataloged as Child Ballad 162, round 223. What?
The first ballad, TJ.
Yeah, I want to see about this. The first ballad. I never heard the old song of Percy and Douglas, that I found not my heart moved more than with a trumpet.
Jesus.
The Ballad of Chevy Chase.
But anyway, yeah, get back to talk about Chevy Chase, Maryland, Paul.
Yeah, no. We're not deep fat frying Chevy Chase, Maryland.
What do you mean?
TJ? We're deep fat frying
We've had this on the schedule for fucking like a month
Chevy
or more.
Chase, TJ.
Yeah, Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase?
Yes.
Yes, Chevy Chase,
Yes,
Maryland.
correct.
Actor, comedian,
Actor, comedian.
extraordinaire.
What?
Yes, TJ.
Who?
Yes.
Who? What?
Chevy Chase.
Oh, this
Oh.
guy here.
No!
Oh, no? That's not him?
That's
not
Timothy
him?
Allen Dick.
Listen to
TJ.
me, TJ.
Yeah, what's up?
Here on Deep Fat Fried,
Uh-huh.
we have a tradition.
Do we?
Call it a has-been roast if you must. In fact, the very first offering that this collaboration of neckbeards produced was a very thorough and
That was
vicious
this one,
takedown
yeah.
of Timothy Allen Dick, if you'll remember.
I do
You guys
remember.
remember the show?
Beautiful
Yes.
man.
A
Beautiful show.
universally beloved show.
Yes. But one headstone was not enough for this crew, was it?
No.
The bloodthirst was not to be slaked so easily.
More has-beens, more!
So allow me then to read you an abridged list of the dishonored dead. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Abridged list, by the way. This is not
Abridged.
comprehensive.
Not everybody, but the prime targets.
How about Chris Kattan?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
May his soul burn forever in cringy fires of his own making.
Oh,
Next image.
shit, dude.
Next
How about-
image, please.
Wait a minute. You can't even... I need a moment to process this fucking...
I found this picture last
Dude, I'm
night.
sorry, but does it just look like his head doesn't belong on his body?
It looks like his hair doesn't belong in his head.
It looks like
his head
he doesn't belong
in his body.
in this reality. I'll be
I
honest with you.
know. I'm just looking at his head. It's like, what the fuck? He has no neck, and it just feels like his head's just like they photoshopped his head on some other body.
He looks like someone playing a magician on a TV show that can't afford a magician costume.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what he looks like. You got it.
Oh.
How about Vanilla Ice?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
May he rot in obscurity
You know what?
as he did in life.
Somehow Vanilla Ice's outfit is not as bad as the Chris Kattan one, even though it's way louder and more gaudy and
I'd
more
definitely
ridiculous.
I'd rather be dressed like this than Chris Kattan in the previous picture.
Because you know what?
I fucking want this
At
outfit,
least,
dude. Fuck that.
Vanilla Ice is going all the fuck out here with something crazy.
TJ, let me ask you a question. This outfit.
Whereas this is just fucking...
Go back to the Vanilla Ice one.
Yes.
You could have this outfit right now in your size. You would say no?
I'd fucking buy
That's what
it.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
dude. I'd want this shit. This is fucking cool. Chris
cool.
Kattan, no. That fucking, ugh.
I'd pay $60 for this.
Yeah.
You know who else's bones are buried here, TJ?
Who?
Nancy Grace.
Yeah. Oh my God. Whoa. What happened?
Nancy Grace. May she be
Jesus.
forced to listen to her own show for all eternity.
God, she looks horrible.
How about Dr. Phil? You remember that one?
Oh, he sucks.
May a great shaggy
TJ?
bear endlessly devour his puny genitals before him.
Yes,
Now, TJ, do you react in fear when people talk about your high triglyceride count, TJ?
I do.
Have you ever lashed out at a family member, TJ?
I have.
Please go on.
How about Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Why does
Yeah.
he have a pedo stash now?
Yeah, this is what he's looking. He's sporting a stash now.
What the fuck is going on, Adam?
Who knows?
Adam, do you need help?
And even the pitiable, lowly cur, Rob Schneider. May the hat on his head catch fire and burn with a ferocity that water quencheth not.
Who's
Damn,
the worst?
Paul, you want like a great
there more?
punishment? Like
No, there are more. There are many more. There are many
right
more.
there.
There's one.
There are many more
There's one right there.
graves buried here. In the crypts below the crematorium that is deep fat fried, and all undoubtedly deserved their fiery fate. We destroyed them viciously and without mercy.
Yeah.
For we knew that ours was the vengeance of those who have cringed, TJ.
This guy's more of a never was, though.
Well, he works here at the crematorium, TJ.
He does indeed. So
The
who's
darkness, the
Let
psychological
me ask you this.
solitude.
How did you miss Pauly Shore, though? Because
I didn't. I said it was. I said it was
know,
an
but
abridged
he
list.
definitely should have been.
I said it was an abridged
He definitely should have been
list,
on it.
TJ.
Yeah. But he shouldn't have been abridged from it. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I tell you what, when
Hey,
you do the next
wait a
fucking
minute.
episode, TJ, why don't you throw Pauly Shore into your fucking episode?
Maybe I will.
There you go.
Do you know what? Rob Schneider. I've never noticed this before, but he doesn't have any fucking eyebrows, so that's pretty weird.
He does. I can see
They're
some.
they're
There's
very
like
wispy.
They're very thin.
straggly hair or two, but that's not an eyebrow.
They're very thin.
Crazy.
little wispy eyebrows, TJ. What's wrong with that?
So yeah, we've. So is this the next victim?
So one fateful day, go to the previous one.
Okay.
My taskmaster, the head mortician here at the Boneyard, Thomas James Kirk III, gave me my orders. Paul, he said,
Paul.
You will destroy Chevy Chase. You, Paul.
So I went about my work without question, but what I found was not a slithering, scraping, self-effacing cringe machine like the person on the screen here and the others we've talked about in this episode so far. No!
No.
What I found was complicated. A complicated man, I suppose. An asshole, to be sure. Cocky, self-sure, egotistical, even a self-righteous man. But what hypocrite amongst us three would credibly claim that we're not exactly the same? You, Scotty? Surely not you, TJ.
Yeah, I'll claim it.
I don't think I can.
So what are we left with, TJ? Go to the next picture. This is Chevy Chase as a young man, but let's see him now. Go to the next picture, TJ.
Chevy Chase young, Chevy Chase old.
Whoa.
What are we left with? An old, defenseless man, a grandfather, weary, beaten down, filled with regret and sorrow, and hated seemingly by everyone.
It looks like a cancer patient, dude. Is
He
doing
looks
all right?
awful.
He's old. He's an old man.
I mean,
what
like,
do you want from him?
Dude, Bernie's older than him, and I mean, like, Bernie's got kind of the bald thing going on, the glasses thing. You know, he's looking better than this dude.
The internet, if you go to the next link, TJ, is ripe and rife as well
The straight dope.
with threads like these. Why is Chevy Chase so hated? Now, I will admit there are some positive comments here, but most of these comments are about how hated Chevy Chase is. You'll find news stories. Why is Chevy Chase so hated? You'll find biographical articles centering around how hated this man is. And for what crime, TJ? What crime did Chevy Chase commit? Being pompous?
Yeah.
Being insensitive?
Uh-huh.
Trying with every fiber of his being to make you laugh? What a monster. So I defy your mortician's orders, TJ.
If you've read the book Live from New York, you'd see that not one person from any incarnation of Saturday Night Live has a good word to say for Chevy Chase. He's apparently an irredeemable asshole.
Well, not tonight, because tonight
tonight.
TJ,
He's gonna be redeemed, huh?
you will witness the incontrovertible, glorious, total redemption of Chevy Chase right here on Deep Fat Fried. And in version of what you told me to do, I defy your orders. I will not smear this man. I will build him up in the eyes of the people.
You know what, Paul? You defied me, Paul.
I did. What are you going to do about it?
I respect that.
Thank you.
I respect that, Paul. I respect it so much that I'm going to give you a quick death later.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So Chevy Chase, go to the next picture.
There he is in Christmas.
That's him on the left there, by the way, with his older brother and the creepiest Santa Claus that I think I've ever seen.
He's in the top 10.
He's got very long fingers.
Wait, I think the kid is creepier. Which one is Chevy?
Chevy's on the left.
Yeah,
Chevy
he's actually the creepiest. I think it's because he's licking his lips.
Yeah, like his brother just looks like
He looks like he wants to eat something right just behind the camera.
his brother looks retarded. He just looks like he wants to like kill somebody or something.
Well,
Just,
maybe
like,
he
vicious.
does. Maybe he does. He was born, now get this, Cornelius Crane Chase
Cornelius
in Lower Manhattan, New York, to Kathleen Parker.
You know what? That makes sense because my cat is an asshole, and I named it Cornelius because I thought that was a cool name, but apparently it's an asshole name.
Yeah.
Dude, Cornelius is actually pretty nice, dude. You're lying.
His parents both came from prominent families. His dad was an editor and a writer. His mom was a concert pianist and a librettist, which is a...
You said penis.
Yeah, man. Penis. Concert penis.
Whoa.
So I figured we could listen to some, or not listen, but I'd read you. He's written some of his own words about growing up in New York, rather than have me fill your head with a bunch of facts.
Yeah.
How about we hear from the man himself, Chevy, about what it was like growing up?
It's a very creative spelling of incontrovertible in this document, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I
Very
appreciate
creative.
that.
I love it.
Thank you.
Very Shakespearean.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, TJ. So Chevy Chase had this to say
early
about
childhood.
growing up in New York.
Yes.
New York was such a huge place, the concrete canyon of it. The buildings were all so tall. I just assumed all cities were like that. Well, they aren't. In the 50s, you can't walk by another guy without staring at him and him staring at you the whole time. It was a I'm more of a man and tougher than you thing. That's with you for the rest of your life. A sense of humor is a sense of perspective. It's a way of gauging what's important and what's less important. I had to get into fights all the time. If you go to the next picture, I think we got kind of a teenaged picture of Chevy
punk
here.
Chevy Chase.
He says he lived at the cusp of Spanish Harlem, and they didn't like a crew-cut white kid. They were always chasing me and trying to steal my wallet. I was sent to the grocery store on 2nd Avenue by my mother on a Saturday, and these two Spanish kids are walking behind me, and in front of me was a little kid smaller than me, and he kept punching me in the face the whole way to the grocery store. I came back from the grocery store with a bloody nose, and my mom sent me back for something else, and they were there again. And when we got to the corner, I'd had it. I just took the little kid out, and of course the other two, the big ones, jumped me. I really had a hold on one of them like a headlock, and the other replied, "Hey, no fair, you're choking him." "No fair," he said. "What do you mean no fair? You guys have been kicking the crap out of me. They had these rules." One of the guys stabbed me in the back 3 times when I was running away, and I still have the knife scars.
Damn, brutal.
I remember discovering that you could just pick up a brick around one of these areas along the sidewalk and get on top of a car while they're chasing you. And boy, did that stop everybody. I might have 20 of them chasing me, but nobody wanted to be hit with a brick. And I got really good at roller skating, too. That's kind of lame.
I'll just skate away from danger.
Yep. So he said he would roller skate down Park Avenue all the way to Grand Central. I must have known every alleyway, every possible place you could either hide or cause trouble, up from the 90s to Grand Central. It was a joy to be a naughty boy in New York. So,
Whoa, a naughty boy.
Yeah.
I'm a naughty Chevy
I'm a
Chase.
naughty New York boy.
Oh, yes. So delightfully, deliciously naughty.
Meet me behind the building.
They're trying to kill me, but I simply roller skate away.
if you take another little jump forward, you'll see Chevy Chase in his early
Oh, my God.
20s.
No wonder people were trying to attack him.
Oh man, come on! You can't get you. Dude, there's a rugged handsomeness behind the goofy smile there.
What is this creature? Kill it quickly!
Yeah, there's a little bit of you know.
We'll see some handsome Chevy later.
If he wasn't
dude.
making this face,
Yeah, he's
maybe.
making a goofball face
Oh,
here.
whatever, dude. TJ, you'd have to brown bag him.
But he's a proportion nice. He's got the nice butt chin going on.
Yeah, you know, that's a nice,
Strong
nice
feature.
moated chin.
So he spent his 20s at various odd jobs with the hope of pursuing a career in comedy. And during this time, he wrote for the Smothers Brothers, who went on to be, you know, or I guess at the time already a big comedy staple. And the early incarnation of National Lampoon, which
Cool.
would later lead to a lucrative film franchise for him.
Yeah, the vacation movies, yeah.
Chase's first stint as a performer was with the New York comedy video workshop Channel 1, which evolved into the 1974 film Groove Tube.
Groove Tube.
Which I looked at some of last night, and it's real weird.
It sounds weird. But, it was the 70s, so pretty much every fucking thing was
Tube,
weird.
Yeah.
Baby, it's Groove Tube.
After seeing the film, producer Lorne Michaels hired Chase for the first season of Saturday Night Live in 1975. So this was really obviously what broke Chevy Chase into the minds and consciousnesses.
Right. And
consciousnesses
it kind of sucks we have to kind of explain this now because Saturday Night Live now is like, who gives a fuck? But back in these days, Saturday Night Live was like a cultural institution and all this shit.
Not yet. This was the first season.
Right.
So he was part of the cast that established the dominance of Saturday Night Live for 20, 30, 40 years.
But out the gate, it was a fucking cult. It was a cultural fucking.
It was
phenomenon,
huge,
so.
and he kind of innovated the bit that they still do on the show, the sitting at the news desk and reading the satirical news.
Right, the Weekend Update, which it hasn't stopped. It's still going on SNL to this day. I don't know who's hosting it now. My favorite, when we were growing up, it was Norm Macdonald doing it, and he fucking had.
He was fantastic.
He just had the most terrific fucking deadpan, and still does really. Total retard in real life, by the way, as an aside.
Well, whatever. He's a funny one.
He's a funny retard.
He was hired at first as a writer, but pretty soon, obviously, they saw his talent, and he was in front of the cameras. He was responsible for quite a few skits, including one we'll take a brief look at in a moment. But he was really well known for this part of his act, the reading of the news. He also played kind of a bumbling Gerald Ford, who was president at the time and became really famous for that.
You can just kind of see Gerald Ford if you look at him.
Have you ever seen any of his? See, the sad thing is
I've never seen his Gerald Ford impersonation, but I can just tell. I know Gerald Ford,
right.
and I don't know him.
He tripped over everything. He was constantly falling down and hurting himself, and he was just very klutzy and clumsy and stupid. But he was, probably one of the breakout stars on a huge season. If you go to the next picture, this is Lorne Michaels over there on the right, Chevy on the left, Dan Aykroyd, Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
This isn't, of course, the whole first season cast. Gilda Radner was on this. Trying to remember all their names, but it was an
amazingly fucking talented group of people.
All people that went on to have their huge careers in their own right. Jim Belushi unfortunately died very young from an overdose, but had a huge career anyway, leading up to that overdose.
Yeah, I mean Blues Brothers.
So it's super. I can't underscore how super iconic this group of people was. I mean, they made a show that stood the test of time for decades and decades and was a staple in American life.
Right. And Chevy Chase was no small part of that. I mean, obviously, he went on to quite a fucking lucrative career.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that
I'm sure we will.
right now. Lorne Michaels, pictured here on the right, and Chevy were close friends until Chevy, without warning, decided to leave SNL at the end of his contract to do a handful of primetime specials for NBC. So basically, somebody came knocking at Chevy's door with some money.
Yes, and he's just like, okay, bye.
Yep, and he was like, well, fuck you guys, I'm out. See ya. Bye, Saturday Night Live. So after one season, it was a big deal, too, because he was beloved on the show. But after one season, he said goodbye. Some people that worked with him, William Morris agency, signed him immediately, stole him away from Saturday Night Live. One of the writers that worked with him said Chevy was a real scumbag about the way he left, deceitful and dishonest about the whole thing. And when staff writer Tom Davis asked why Chevy was leaving, he said, money, lots of money.
Okay. Well, I guess at least he's
enough.
honest.
Yep. So this is Jacqueline Carlin, who Chevy married right after he left the show. She filed for divorce from him 17 months later, citing threats of violence.
Wow.
He then, later in interviews, cited his engagement and impending marriage to Carlin as a reason for leaving Saturday Night Live, a blame the bitch strategy, according to one of the women that was on the show with him. He made a number of movies early on in his career, but I thought we could take a look at the movie that he made. He really left SNL to make. If you pull up the next image, this is it. It is Oh Heavenly Dog.
What?
which is a stupid movie. I watched about 20 minutes of it last night and could not bring myself to finish it, which is saying something because I watch a lot of dog shit.
An adult tale of murder, mystery, and forbidden. I guess it takes place in London.
And you see how tail is spelled. This is maybe one of the earliest movies where the guy dies and he's reincarnated as a dog to solve his own murder.
Oh, shit, it's one of those, huh?
Yes. And so it's for most of the film, and I pulled the trailer if you want to take a look at it.
Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look.
Chevy Chase is Benjamin Browning.
I love these old trailers,
They're doing
man.
like a psycho fucking thing. You know, like a fucking
struggling
Alfred
private
Hitchcock trailer.
Who's about to embark on the strangest case of his career.
What can I do for you?
I want to buy protection for someone, and I know you'll be discreet.
But before he can track down the clues, the witnesses, the evidence, or the suspects, there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is
Call me on Friday.
he's going to make a date.
Call you Friday.
The bad news is he's going to be late.
Damn. Stabbed in the back.
What am I signing?
You're acknowledging that you are dead and you agree to all the terms and conditions thereof.
But incredibly enough, there's more news.
Final assessment assignment is to go back and solve your own murder.
Go back.
Excuse me.
Chevy wrote that into the script
Yeah.
himself.
How about she slaps me on the ass when I go into the thing?
Oh, it's another take of that
I
one.
don't know, Chevy.
Now,
Just do it.
he's back.
Maybe you remember me. I was killed here.
Somewhat shorter,
I need a clue.
but wiser.
A pair of hands.
With 48
These kind of movies are fucking super easy.
Yeah.
You just get to...
Because Chevy probably had one shooting day on this
Yeah,
film.
you get to... You go
and
go
then
in,
2 or 3 voiceover days, and he was done.
It's like, yeah.
And then the editors just threw together some bullshit about a dog running around trying to solve a murder.
I just want to say that this being his first movie, it's a fucking miracle that he had a film career.
Yes, I agree.
wild and woolly hours to solve
'Cause
his
this is a
own
misstep
murder or
right here.
die again trying. 20th Century Fox presents
I'm sorry, Mr. Browning. I didn't mean to startle you.
Chevy Chase.
Why don't
What?
you stand up?
I am standing up.
Jane Seymour.
How about if I just call you BJ for short?
You're asking for it.
Omar Sharif.
BJ.
Sorry, I gotta be running along now. Oh, you're strangling me.
Robert Morley.
Robert Morley.
And Benji.
Hello.
Now I gotta run. Turn the lights off when you leave.
In an adult tale of
Poor
murder,
Benji.
mystery, and forbidden love.
I don't like being cute.
She gonna
I
fuck
don't
the
like
dog?
being
What the hell's
fluffy.
going on?
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't get to this part, so I can't tell you whether
Damn,
she fucks the
Benji.
dog.
Whoa. Maybe Benji wasn't so abused.
The movie is almost unwatchable. It's terrible, and it's not the only movie he made before he broke big. We'll take a look at his filmography a little later, but this is certainly one of the films that he left Saturday Night Live to make, and his early film career is not great. He didn't really hit pay dirt until 1980, so he left SNL in '76. And it was 4 years of pretty unmemorable films until he dropped Caddyshack, which I don't know how you guys feel about the movie or if you've seen it. I don't
Caddyshack's
really
awesome.
like Caddyshack all that
like it.
much.
I'm not a big fan of it, but I know it was a
I'm a big
cultural
fan.
icon. Like tons and tons of people fucking talk. I mean, the movie has been like just done to death as far as like pop culture references. Like from the 80s to the 90s, you couldn't escape Caddyshack references.
Yeah, and this is the movie. And if you want to go to the next picture there, TJ, I got the poster for it. If nothing else, that we
I
can
like
take a
this
look at.
movie a lot.
We can't really watch, clips from movies and shit, unfortunately. Maybe one day we'll have the freedom to do so. But this next picture is Caddyshack's poster. Super iconic movie from 1980. I'm not a huge fan of it. What's up?
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. He played a golf pro who oozed confidence and deadpan humor.
This is the Caddyshack poster.
Yep, and these would become Chase's trademarks. So he really kind of established his movie character here in Caddyshack. The kind of arrogant, smug, well-to-do, acerbic kind of put-down artist
I always loved Dangerfield in this more than.
Yeah, Dangerfield and Bill Murray were both pretty funny.
Chevy
in
Chase is top billing here. Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, Michael O'Keefe, and Bill Murray. Oh, Bill Murray's great in this movie.
Bill Murray as Carl.
That's the only character I really like in this movie.
Yeah.
Much.
And there's Caddyshack 2 as well, of course,
Which is horrible. No.
which is terrible.
Did Chevy Chase come back for that one?
No.
I thought he was in that one.
Was he? I don't think he was, but we can look. I pulled his whole filmography. So
I
we
thought
can take a
he
look.
made at least some appearance in the movie, but
So his next big movie was, of course, National Lampoon's Vacation. His previous association with National Lampoon, I guess, paid off. He was able to sign on for this movie, which I watched actually last night as I was pulling for this. I really like the first 3 of these vacation movies. I don't know.
Your Vacation and European Vacation and Christmas Vacation
Yep.
were the first 3. Those are awesome.
I pulled posters for
those
all
too.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
European Vacation. I think European Vacation might actually be my favorite.
It really is funny. Christmas Vacation is great. Unfortunately, I've seen Vegas Vacation, which came much later, by the way.
Much later.
There was 10 years. I actually pulled Vegas
have it?
Vacation as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is horrible. Horrible.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it horrible.
I hated
it's
it.
pretty fucking bad.
I'm kind of a defender of this movie.
What?
I'll be
Really?
honest with you.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think it came even close to capturing the spirit of the original 3, but I didn't think it was terrible.
Have you seen that new horrible
I didn't
vacation
think it was
movie?
painful. But
Have you seen the vacation movie reboot?
I don't know. I haven't seen that, but I've heard awful things. and
completely
it looks,
awful,
It looks
dude.
completely bad, so I can't even imagine. But yeah, Vegas Vacation is definitely the shittiest and by far
of the Chevy Chase vacation films easily.
Yes.
I don't really like it at all. I think it's nowhere near in the spirit of the preceding films.
Yes.
The first 3, though, really good. I recommend them all if you haven't seen them.
Yeah, I mean, all 3 of those classics.
I mean, they're a little bit
It's pretty-
outdated, honestly.
I mean,
like,
yeah. I mean, look,
Well, sure. I mean,
they
they were made in
haven't.
the
Look,
80s,
they
the
don't
90s.
occupy a space like what I think like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles,
No.
or like a true comedy classic.
they're not what I would
but-
call like super timeless, but they are funny as fuck.
Yeah, and I think they all hold up well enough for modern audiences.
And if you like edgy humor, it was still okay back in the 80s, so there's some stuff that you just won't see, you know what I mean? Some sexual jokes and racial jokes and stuff that you'll just never see anymore.
This, I love all these.
This one is great, too. It's the same cast from the first one, save that they recast his daughter as somebody else.
These two, it's funny because these two kind of have their own kind of cover going on, and then these two kind of have more of a...
Yeah, and then they changed to this Chevy Chase being
It's
splayed
like-
out cover.
It's like these two have a cover theme, and then the next two.
I like the cover theme on the first 2 better.
Yeah, it's way better.
I'd rather
it's
see him
way
like this
cooler.
in a Santa suit, you know. But yeah, cool movies. Really interesting kind of time capsule looks at 80s culture and all of that, and really funny and edgy in some ways that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
His
And
next,
it's a great family dynamic in these movies too, because he's just like, I don't know if anyone ever kind of played the overbearing kind of dad the way he did.
Oh, dude, this perfectly captures the '80s American dysfunctional.
well, he wasn't
family.
all the time overbearing. He was the perfect like
It's like he
It was a good
became
balance.
hypocritical overbearing dad who
he became as he became more unhinged. It became more and more about like, we're gonna have fun, and it's
Right.
like no one else having fun, but he's just like determined to make something of a bad situation
this
to
is
the point where
probably-
he's just making it worse.
The first
and
two are
worse.
probably his best films, in my opinion. Really.
they're my favorite of
I mean,
his films.
they're the best trilogy of.
But
Chevy Chase
believe it or
films.
not, his next big film is the one he's best remembered for, which is Fletch. I'm not.
I'm gonna be super honest. I don't get the status that this movie enjoys.
I think the reason that people like Fletch, and I watched a little bit of it. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, and I would have watched it. It's a watchable movie. It's not
awful.
It's not bad.
But
And
I don't. It has a reputation that I don't get.
So
maybe you could explain it to me, because I was always kind of like, oh, cool, Chevy Chase in his prime, Fletch sounds good, and everyone talked about it like it's a great fucking iconic comedy,
Right.
And I watched it and I was like, huh.
I think one of the reasons why it isn't remembered well is because of Fletch 2. Fletch 2 is horrible and it sticks in people's minds. Fletch 1 actually has kind of a dark undertone to it. It's more of a detective film where the hero is just a naturally comedic guy than a comedy.
Right.
It's an actual, and there are some comedic bits in it, obviously, but it's interesting for that way. But it's not a direct comedy, and I think that's why maybe I don't like it, because I want it to be funnier than it is.
That's kind of maybe what I mean, I could kind of see that.
But it really wasn't shooting for that. It's more of a straight detective movie. Now the second one went totally comedic with it and ruined it. So
maybe they were right to do what they did then.
The second one was total slapstick, total nonsense,
Did this
total
come out
comedy.
before or after Beverly Hills Cop?
This what was the year this was released?
Hold on, I
actually wrote it down.
Okay.
It just seemed like the 80s had a lot of these kind of like detective.
85.
85. I think after then. I'm pretty sure.
After what?
Was it
Beverly
before or
Hills-
after Beverly Hills Cop?
Oh, I don't know.
Because obviously it's kind of
either-
the same vein as this.
Yeah.
You know.
There were a lot of cop dramas in the 80s. A lot of detective movies and buddy cop dramas really kind of came into their own in the 80s, so it was a very popular genre. This is his entry. It's not as funny as I would like it to be.
But this was a very, what I remember, a very successful movie. Like, obviously I
It
wasn't
was.
alive then, but
Super successful.
But like, I remember people talking about like videos. So that's a good movie. Watch that. And my dad would say, "Oh, it's a good movie. Watch that." So and people remembered it.
And I actually pulled a video of him on Johnny Carson back in the day talking about Fletch, if you want to.
I suppose most everyone first saw Chevy Chase on the old Saturday Night Live, and since then he has gone on and done a lot of funny pictures. He's talented, funny, and a busy actor. He has a couple of movies coming out. One called National Lampoon's European Vacation, which opens the end of July, and another comedy, Fletch, which opens tomorrow. Would you welcome Mr. Chevy Chase?
Oh, damn. 2 big movies in 1 year. Make a layup. Come on, dude. Can't even fucking do a layup.
He does a pretty sweet one.
That's it. Oh, he traveled, though.
This guy is like a ref. It's like he traveled.
He traveled.
Traveling.
He ain't got no fucking skills.
He ain't got the skills to pay them bills.
Coming in for Chase. McAdoo.
Very nice shot.
Thank you.
Did you practice that?
No, just came to me in a flash. Hi, Ed.
How are you? That's a pretty cute shot. Did you play ball? Basketball?
I used to, yeah.
You're tall. You're
This
taller
actually,
than-
this shot,
I wish he was wearing longer shorts.
Yeah, come on.
I'm fine. I'll take a peek at young Chevy
Whoa.
Chase's package.
His fucking, his taint, dude.
tomorrow morning.
Get the taint shot there.
Tainted
So
love.
far, the people who've seen Fletch don't believe that I made the shot. They think
on.
it was a stuntman.
Was it?
Was Ed? No. No, it was me.
Now,
So
was
around
this-
the back, under the legs,
Yeah.
left-handed hook without traveling.
Not bad.
It's worth 2 points.
We caught you traveling, sir.
Scotty called to travel on it,
Dude, he
but I
traveled.
mean, I don't know. We got to go to the
How many
fucking.
times? How many times when you're shooting it did you have to do it to get it laid down?
Well, we had a lunch break.
Well, let's find out if he traveled. Rewind it back.
Okay.
Let's
I'm pretty
let's
sure he
the tail of the tape.
What I saw is he stopped and held the ball.
He did for sure.
All right, so let's.
So he I think this is where he goes for it here.
All right, yeah, so here.
Okay, so he picks up. No, okay, that's his false start.
He aborted that
Okay,
one.
so that one would have been okay, but here he goes.
There's one more time.
I think he's probably.
Hold
So
the
he gets
ball.
one. I don't know. He had his other leg.
He held the ball first and moved.
Yeah. Well,
he
okay.
had to dribble the ball.
It looks like he
Sure.
took about 3 steps without dribbling, so I'd say.
I think
It's close.
Isn't that what you're allowed to do? Or?
He's on the. Yeah.
I'm not an official rule expert on the NBA as far as that's concerned, but it looked like to me he might have traveled.
Now he
I'm gonna say
definitely wouldn't be allowed to move if he had just been past the ball without dribbling. So, but yeah. It was on the cusp of a travel. You can skip a little around, but
So his personality doesn't seem too asshole-ish here.
No, I mean, he-
So he knows how to rein it in, but apparently.
It was on the fucking Johnny Carson show. Of course, he's gonna be like,
Right.
He's gonna be a nice guy.
But I mean, like, I don't know. Like, some people just can't help but be an asshole. The fact that he can actually help it kind of
But
makes
Johnny
it worse,
Carson
maybe.
basically sucked his dick before he came on.
That's
dude.
true.
I mean, like, what reason does he have to be anything but nice to him?
right.
Sure.
So I pulled Chevy Chase's filmography because
And by the way, this is the cover for Fletch Lives. The sequel.
yes.
So
The terrible Fletch lives.
DOA.
is there like a plantation burning there? What's going
Yeah,
on?
it's
Okay.
got a southern theme,
got this-
as you can
Gone
tell
with
from
the
the Gone
Wind.
with the Wind.
Yeah, Roger. Okay. Anyway, so what is this? The best Chevy Chase movies?
Right.
By ranker. So this is the site where you
I'm
can
not
go
sure
vote.
if these are actually the ranks, but I thought we
Well,
could
this
take a
is
look
a-
at
People
some
vote
of
on
his.
This is a site where you can go, where like you can publicly vote. And
Right.
you can see the votes and stuff.
Yeah.
So according to them, Christmas Vacation is the best.
Yep.
I would say I like European Vacation.
Yeah.
I would say
agree.
of the original of the trilogy, I like it probably the least, but it is the most famous.
And it's not even here in the top 4. European Vacation doesn't pop up
Yeah.
until later in the
well,
list.
if for some reason it doesn't seem like it's as well known as the other ones.
Yeah.
But anyway, National Lampoon's Vacation. I think it. I'm gonna go up. That deserves better. Caddyshack. I like it. You guys don't feel it as much as me, but I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
Yep. Fletch,
I'm gonna vote this one down.
you're gonna vote. Okay, yeah. Put
Because
that one needs to
I-
go
oh,
down.
dude. 'cause I want it lower.
TJ, maybe you'll get the Chajika fans to come out and
Fletch,
change
whatever. Three Amigos.
I like this one. I
you know,
think it's pretty funny.
I could never watch Three Amigos.
You never got through it?
Yeah, I never could.
Never seen it.
I never could fucking.
I really
tried
think
it.
it's funny.
I've never even heard of
Steve
Funny
Martin
Farm.
is in it. Martin Short, Chevy Chase. Pretty
I've never
funny
seen
movie.
Funny Farm either.
I've seen Funny Farm. It's funny, but not one of his most well
It's
remembered
funny.
movies.
It's a farm. Spies Like Us is pretty good.
Oh
Yeah.
damn, TJ, look, National Lampoon's European Vacation is number 9.
yeah. And
No, it's
in
in the
his
top 10.
defense, Chevy Chase
Dude,
was
Fletch Lives is still
What?
number 10, dude. So a lot of people.
Yeah.
Some of the people
Downvote that
like
shit
it.
right now.
Chevy Chase
I never
was
actually
in
seen it.
Foul Play, which I don't know if you guys have seen Foul Play, but he was in that before, right after he got out of.
You know,
Saturday
for
Night
some
Live,
odd
so.
reason, I've never really been attracted to the work of Chevy Chase. So I've not seen most of his movies.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the people we've covered. Probably that I know the least about.
Nothing But Trouble, another movie that's not really people don't remember it, but I think it's really good. An early '90s movie with a really wacky, wild kind of fucking.
It's got a lot of like
gore.
It's got a lot of strange imagery for sure. And
Chevy Chase was in Hot Tub
Dan
Time
Aykroyd
Machine?
is in it, and he plays
Cameos.
Yeah, that's
He's done a lot of cameos.
Chevy. Yeah, he he shows
Snow
up as
Day.
So as we get lower, some of these aren't even really properly Chevy Chase films,
Right.
Like
so
Dirty Work is mainly.
But that's a look, and way farther into his career, some of these as well. But a look at kind of the film work of Chevy Chase. He's made a lot of really good movies, honestly. In terms of like being a comedic actor, he's made a lot of stinkers too. But
Most
I
do.
remember a lot of these movies fondly, don't you guys? I mean, like, well, Scotty, not so much up on
No.
the Chevy Chase, but I love the National Lampoon's franchise.
Well, I've seen that one. I've seen the.
Caddyshack is not great in my opinion, but it's watchable. There's a lot of good performances in it. Fletch is okay. Three Amigos are really funny.
So basically, his heyday was from like the late 70s to like the mid 80s.
Mid 80s,
somewhere around
maybe
there.
slightly close to the 90s, but not, yeah.
It was
not
like the
very
90s.
much
He
beyond
started
that.
appearing in a lot of stinkers.
By the time the 90s came around,
So
less so.
at this point, I'm going to give you one of my premises as to why Chevy Chase is so hated,
Okay.
and see whether you guys agree with it.
So premise number 1.
Yeah, Chevy is hated because he's known for playing the buffoonish straight man, an outdated archetype that hasn't aged particularly well.
So let me think about that for a second. So Chevy Chase is hated because he is known for playing the buffoonish.
I
straight
don't think.
man.
I mean, look.
I'm not saying all people hate him. This is a reason why I think that a good section of people might not like him.
If you look at a lot of like sitcoms, that kind of archetype still really exists in them. Like the dad character is usually a fucking idiot.
Right.
You know, so I wouldn't argue that that's necessarily
Who
gone
everything
away.
else around him is it's kind of an inherently conservative sort of trope though,
That is
Sure.
true.
where it's like he's the sensible man in a crazy world. where
I mean,
everyone
look
else
at
around
Tim
him
Allen.
is-
His show came.
That's
Last
basically
Man
what his show
Standing
is.
Came back because, and it's super popular still.
Is it?
It is. Yeah.
I didn't know.
What,
But,
I think they brought it back.
Well, I knew they brought it back. I didn't know if it was actually doing well since it had been back.
Everything I've heard about it is it's actually doing pretty well for its time slot.
Cool.
Everything
Well,
else.
I'm glad that I'm glad Tim found his place. But I mean, yeah, I think you're right. It is kind of an outmoded one in some people's eyes, especially like maybe the new, more kind of like woke
And he's really
crowd.
known for playing it.
Yeah.
You know what I
What
mean?
I
So when people
honestly
see his
hear-
face, they see the face of
Yeah.
kind of an outdated comedy trope.
I mean, maybe that's it on some subconscious level, but most people I've heard, it's like it's this really weird thing that if like you're a celebrity, you have to be a nice person. If you're not, you're an asshole. That just like it's now this kind of thing.
Yeah,
where
people
it's
are
like,
kind
you're
of
a piece
obsessed
shit.
with celebrities being nice for some reason.
Yeah,
I've
like-
never got that because I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't care. They're just people.
And I mean, like, I'm there to be entertained by them. I'm not there to fucking hang out with
But
them.
there's kind of this moral
drink
judgment
a beer or whatever the fuck.
like with especially in like recent years when like these celebrity stories like on sites like Reddit and other places have become popular and people realize like, oh, Chevy Chase is a douchebag. So now it's like
Chase is a jerk.
it's like Tom Cruise is crazy. It's like even whether he's crazy or not, maybe he isn't, maybe it is. Like we don't know them personally. We're seeing these snippets of their lives and saying, okay, I'm extrapolating that this is how they are all the time. Maybe Chevy Chase is a dick with business, but in his normal life he's a nice guy.
Well,
who knows?
Maybe we can get to the bottom of that tonight. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna go try to find a nice picture of it.
Yeah.
There we go. There's a good one.
So
Ooh, yeah.
we're gonna move into his mid-career now,
okay.
or as I call it, the Assholes Ballad.
The Assholes Ballad.
Starting in around 1990, but we're gonna go back a little bit and hear from some Saturday Night Live cast members.
Okay.
Lorraine Newman, who was also on the original cast, had this to say. My first impression of Chevy was that he was really good-looking, but kind of mean. He teased in a way that a big brother would, aiming for exactly what would hurt your feelings the most. I say this as someone who loves him. He was also a viciously effective put-down artist, the sort that could find the one thing somebody was sensitive about, like a pimple on the nose or whatever, and then kid about it mercilessly. According to Hill and Weingrad, one person who got the treatment was Bill Murray, whom famously feuded with Chevy Chase. He told Bill Murray that his face looked like something Neil Armstrong had landed on.
Well, he does have a pretty pockmarked face.
He does.
But, here's the thing. At this point, Bill Murray is pretty much a beloved American institution, and Chevy Chase is pretty much known and thought of as an asshole.
Right.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Time has vindicated.
Yeah, Chevy Chase can have a nice
Bill
credit-free face, but he doesn't have a career, so that's the
Right.
trade-off,
Chevy, his tenure on SNL was not a happy one. He reportedly played one agent off of another, had a falling out with producer Lorne Michaels, and came to believe that he was bigger than the show, according to a lot of the people involved.
You don't leave a show like that unless you think, failing some sort of personal drama or something.
Right.
Unless there is some sort of idea that you're too hot shit.
Well,
to even
he
be
was
on
doing
that
really
show.
well on the show, so I'm sure it was just like, yeah, I'm the reason the show blew up. I'm the fucking star. Fuck all them. They're nothing.
So,
And you got to be pretty fucking egotistical to think that on a show with like Murray and Belushi and Aykroyd and all these other people.
And in the early days, honestly, he backed up that ego.
Yeah.
So even though
Some
he had
degree,
kind
yeah.
of publicly feuded with many members of the show and had a falling out with the producer, Lorne Michaels, in 1985 he was back because he was a big star to host the show again. And he came on as a host and went about literally pissing everyone off. He made fun of Robert Downey Jr.'s father. Here's the quote. Didn't your father used to be a successful director? Whatever happened to him? Boy, he sure died, sure went to hell. So Downey Jr.'s father, of course, was dead. And was relentlessly hateful to Terry Sweeney, who was SNL's first openly gay cast member. He proposed that they do a sketch on the show where they weighed him every week to see if he had AIDS.
What an asshole.
Damn, dude.
Terry Sweeney said that Chevy ended up having to come and apologize and come to the office to do it. He was really furious that he had to apologize to me.
Oh, man. So basically someone made him apologize. Someone who I guess was in a higher position.
Yeah. So go to the...
Oh, man. I gotta do. There we do have a picture for
Yeah.
this, I think. Let's see. It's around...
No, that was the picture I wanted to
okay.
use. This is his wife, Janie, and this is just kind of an addendum. As a coda to Chevy's SNL assholery, we'll note that he ran into Live from New York author James Miller. So there's this book...
That really shits on him, apparently.
I really don't think it set out to shit on him, but as this guy went and talked to all the principal people in the early casts of SNL, pretty much nobody had anything nice to say about Chevy. And so Chevy apparently saw this guy in the streets in New York, and he was angry with his status in the book as a recurring villain and proceeded to prove everyone right by going off on Miller publicly.
That's awesome.
And then one of the author's assistants received a sobbing phone call from his wife, Janie, here with further words for them about being mean to Chevy. So, you know.
What did that consist of? Do you know?
I didn't have any more. I couldn't find any more information about that. That's all. That's
Chevy
all that it was.
alone! So, basically, according to... I'm sure that if we read that book, we'd have about 1,000 more things we could say about. So he was pretty obviously a total asshole.
So it's basically a case of like he can dish it out really, and it sounds like pretty good. He can fucking dish it out really well. We just can't take it.
Right.
Huh?
So Johnny Carson was looking for a replacement on the Tonight Show for a while. And Chevy Chase dismissed kind of rumors at the time that he might be tapped to be the next Johnny Carson by telling the New York Times, "I'd never be tied down for 5 years interviewing TV personalities."
Yeah.
When Johnny Carson heard this, he responded by saying that Chevy Chase couldn't ad-lib a fart after a baked bean dinner. So,
tracked.
Oh, brutal.
Fucking destroyed him.
And you know, in fairness to Chevy here, he never was tied down for 5 years interviewing TV personalities. But he did make a return to television later on in 1993 with a high-profile attempt by Fox to fill the void left by a retiring Johnny Carson.
So basically, after denying that he was going to do it,
right,
he did it. Or he tried to do something like it.
Yep. In a New York cover profile from before the show's premiere, highly recommended, if only, well, whatever. The show already feels doomed to fail, and the only preview we get is a game Chevy wants to play with audience members involving putting rubber bands around their heads and racing by scrunching their faces.
Okay.
And within 5 weeks of its debut, it was canceled. He later told Time that he wanted to do something much darker and more improv, and blamed network constraints and not his own clear nervousness and incompetence for the show's failure.
Ew, this sounds cringy.
We can take a look at this. This is on YouTube for anybody to look at.
Okay.
This is the pilot episode of the Chevy Chase show.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't even know if I want to.
He's sitting with Goldie Hawn.
Okay.
Wow, what a band.
Best in the world. Tom Scott, there's nobody like him.
Just who?
Nobody like him.
Nobody like him. No other bands in the world. Not one.
What a woman.
Doesn't he going to dance, though?
Maybe a little later. We might a little. I don't.
He looks real comfortable in this role.
You're fucking shitting on Johnny Carson.
Yep.
When he could do this job in his fucking sleeve.
Johnny was right. He couldn't ad-lib a fart at a baked dinner.
It's great. A hell of a band.
Okay, well, hold on. I mean, this is just opening banter.
All right,
Sure.
enough.
Maybe he cleans up.
I'll shut my trap.
Right now, and this is his first day. You know, maybe he needs a minute, and then he's gonna fucking focus this.
Fair enough.
Right?
Let's
He's gonna
see.
get Goldie Hawn on focus to stop with this idle chit chat that no one cares about.
Maybe you're right.
Have some 12 children. I mean, it's unbelievable how many. I don't know how many there are, but you wear so many hats. I mean, you're involved in so many.
Okay, he's awful.
I
don't even know why.
Fast forward a little bit.
I don't even know why he's so awful.
Because he does a bit here with Goldie. Goldie Hawn's, one of her kids is in the audience, and she says it's the kid's birthday. And here you go. He literally gets up.
Get up. Okay. Jim, come on out here. Hi, Ollie. How are you? Come here. Stand right here. Happy birthday.
This is more awkward than it is.
I know.
Like how?
I know. Happy
you know what
birthday
I mean?
singing is already bad, and this is just like televised and horrible.
Yeah, what is this?
He's singing happy birthday to Goldie Hawn's son, Ollie. Because
Which no one cares about Goldie
nobody
Hawn's
cares
fucking
about
son,
Goldie
first of all.
Hawn's son, Ollie.
Are they gonna like dump the cake on him or something?
No.
That'd be
They
awesome.
literally just sing happy birthday to him and then take the cake back behind the thing and the show goes on.
What?
I shit you not.
There's no bit. Like
this is the bit.
I assume he's gonna come up here, and then like Chevy's just gonna slam the cake into his face or something. What?
Ollie looks fucking amazed that this is going on here.
Okay.
Super happy.
And then it ends, I guess.
and he does a horrible, cringy dance into the commercial break, and that's the bit. There goes the cake. Ollie can hold it while the camera's on him, of course, and then we'll come get it from you in a sec. And he does this cringy dance for like, how long does this go on?
I don't know.
What the fuck is this?
So yeah, this lasted 5 weeks. And that was probably 5 weeks too long.
What a brutal 5 weeks. Dude, that must have been.
They should have cut the broadcast. Like, we're sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is not. We did not intend for this to be this horrible. We are now cutting to reruns.
Wow. I mean, that was worse than it had any right to be.
I agree. It was horrifying. So yeah, definitely wasn't any network constraints to blame for that horribleness. That was just him not being...
He wanted to be darker. He wanted to go out and shoot the kid in the head.
Yeah.
That was what he wanted to do.
That was him just being completely uncomfortable wearing the hat of a late-night TV show host in a role he probably should have never been put in.
Yeah, I don't think that he should have said yes to this.
And I don't think...
pretty fucking obvious. I don't even know if it was incompetence. I think it's just not the right thing for him to be doing. Yeah. He just doesn't, because, you know, you have to have an inherent sort of like maintainable, constant likability,
right,
I think, to be in that role. And he just doesn't have it. You know, I mean, he could be likable as the curmudgeonly, grumpy kind of dad figure who, if you overlook his flaws, he's whatever. But in this role of like, I'm just a nice dude that likes to dance and talk to celebrities and stuff. I mean, it's obvious that his feelings that he expressed when they were asked him about it, like this idea that he does not want to be tied down interviewing TV personalities. I think that was definitely true. But obviously someone came in with a big check that overloaded that fucking apprehension, and he
has no actual passion or desire to do this. It's just so obvious. He's like, this is what I need to do. I'm going to be the edgy one. I'm going to do shit like this. Like, oh, happy birthday. I'm going to dance.
How's that edgy? That's not edgy at all.
Well, I'm like, but I'm saying, like, for this format, like, people didn't normally do shit like this.
Yeah, because it's horrible.
I think you thought he was, like, breaking the mold of what people expected for these kind of shows.
Yeah, breaking the mold by making it more boring and more, like, insipid than people expected it to be.
Yeah?
I mean, the conversation between him and Goldie Hawn is the most vapid thing you'll ever listen to.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel like you're listening to two people talking at a...
Let's hear some of that.
This is 17th birthday.
Well, go back a little farther, because they're about to go into the birthday bit.
He's demanding, and what are you laughing at?
I'm just thinking, because I know one of your oldest, Ollie.
Yeah.
Oliver. And it's a
Oliver.
Thing you don't know about, but I happen to know that it's his birthday today.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah,
okay, well, it's awful.
So a little later, he was on a show that didn't belly flop, that was actually really popular in the 90s, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, where he would have comedians and political pundits come on and face off and yell at each other about politics. And he still does the same show, basically. Calls it Real Time now and does it on HBO.
Yeah.
But it was a really good show. A lot of edgy opinions were freely expressed there. The discourse was...
I think Politically Incorrect, even though HBO, they can obviously say fuck and get away with a little bit more in terms of that, I feel like Politically Incorrect actually had more diverse opinions than...
100% it did.
Because it seems like now it's always kind of stacked with... Like,
well, Real Talk is trying too hard to be
like maybe a token conservative here and there.
Yeah, it's trying to be like a high-profile show now,
right? And it doesn't have the same like fringe people that it used to get.
It's more of a circle jerk. Now.
Politically Incorrect used to get big guests, but like because Chevy Chase, we're going to talk about an appearance that Chevy Chase made on the show, but they also got small-time comedians and really weird political advocates from all across the political spectrum and all around it. It was a fun show. It was a really kind of funny, interesting, lively political discourse show.
And then was canceled for the stupidest fucking reason.
Well, I don't even remember why it was canceled.
It was canceled because Bill Maher came out and said, like, you know, I'm hearing all this shit about the 9/11 hijackers being cowards. That's not the definition of a coward. A coward
and that was it?
A coward doesn't fucking fly a plane into a building.
He was almost immediately fired. The show canceled.
You can say that they're evil if you want, but they're not cowards. And the audience booed, and America booed, and he was canceled.
And he's been on he's been on HBO for what, like 17 years now?
But about a year later, he popped up on HBO, and they're like, you know, they don't care if he's controversial over there,
right? So I was doing research for this, and a blurb popped up somewhere about his famous storming off of Politically Incorrect. So I was like, okay, let me go find when Chevy stormed off of Politically Incorrect. Well, I looked fucking high and low for this episode. It's nowhere. If you can find it on the internet, you're a better man than me. I found a few clips from the show, not this particular episode of it though. But I was able to find now, albeit a very dry, but a complete recap of the show typed up on some weird website that apparently does that. They go through newsworthy shows and type up full dry recaps of it.
Cool.
And here's the recap of the relevant part of the episode that Chevy Chase appeared on. Marr then introduced his guests one by one, and they gather around the table to begin their debate. Although the show's topic is ostensibly hazing at military academies, the discussion is quickly rerouted by Chevy Chase to focus on the nature of television, which he characterizes as both useless and worthless. Chase particularly singles out Bosco, the producer. There's another guest on the show who produced NYPD Blue and Hill Street Blues. Chase singles this guy out as a perpetrator of egregiously violent programming.
NYPD Blue was a pretty iconic show that was
right.
I mean, I don't know as much about Hill Street Blues, but I know NYPD Blue was
that was a big show, dude.
It was a huge show, and it actually kind of was one of the early precursors to television becoming more theatrical and stuff. And it was an early place where the writer of Deadwood, was writing. What was I forget? I can't remember the Deadwood guy's name, but the creator of Deadwood wrote for NYPD Blue before. So it's a
David Milch.
Yeah, pretty high quality show.
So Chase kind of starts picking at that guy, saying what he does is lowbrow and violent, and then he goes on to admit that he's not terribly familiar with Bosco's work.
He's not. So basically, he's savaging this guy, and then it's like,
right.
What have you?
About him.
And he's like, "What have you seen of mine?" He's like, "I don't know, nothing really."
Right.
But you suck.
And then
anyway.
So Bill Maher attempts to get the conversation back on track. Then Chevy Chase declares that he disapproves even of Maher's show. Bosco.
Why is he on it then?
Bosco suggests that Chase, if he doesn't like being on the show, should leave the show. And Chase almost makes it out the door before Maher stops him and asks him to stay. Bosco then takes the opportunity to criticize Chase's work and to point out that Chase got his start in television.
Yeah.
So it basically just becomes a show about Chevy Chase having a meltdown and insulting everybody on the show and then almost storming off.
Let's just think about this sequence of events for a second. They're brought on to talk about military hazing or hazing at military academies.
And Chevy Chase.
That was the big story or whatever.
Totally redirects the conversation
Chevy Chase,
immediately.
Yeah, makes it about how television is shit so he can argue with a guy that he knows nothing about.
And then makes it personal.
Then he storms off, and then Bill Maher has to go fucking glad hand him back onto the fucking set.
Chevy.
Right.
At which point, he is then berated for appearing on television himself and getting his start there.
And for making, by this time, a roster of bad movies. Right.
Right.
So he has no, room to talk to the producer of a very successful at this time, two very successful at this time television shows,
and a critically acclaimed ones too.
Right.
At least NYPD Blue. NYPD Blue was. I don't know about Hill Street Blues.
I don't really remember much about it, but yeah, NYPD Blue was definitely a memorable TV show. So I didn't know about this one either, but I found out. So we're getting into the mid to late '90s, and Kevin Smith, of course, became a star around that time. And apparently Kevin Smith...
Old skinny Kevin.
Yeah, your friend here, TJ, the one that you've ruined our chance of ever having any relationship with your horrible, horrible, boorish nature, TJ.
I'm sorry.
You need to find this man and suck his dick, TJ.
I was going to kick him in the nuts.
No, suck him off, TJ. You cradle his nuts while you blow him.
Yeah, well, if he wanted his nuts cradled, he shouldn't have made Cop Out. That's all I'm saying.
Damn. You're still going to double down? You're going to triple down now?
Tripling down.
Damn.
Cop Out sucked. It's the worst movie ever made.
This is actually the same year as the Bill Maher incident. Chevy met with Kevin Smith to talk about relaunching the Fletch series. According to Smith, the meeting was a disaster.
I'm sure it was. Because you know what? Look, Chevy Chase sounds like the world's biggest asshole. And say what you want about Kevin Smith, he seems like a super humble, down-to-earth dude for the position that he has.
I would think so. That's at least what he puts out there. I don't know what he's like behind the scenes.
Everything that I've ever heard about him from other people or any of that
certainly
stuff,
don't hear that Kevin Smith is an asshole to work with or for.
I mean, he like goes out and buys like burgers for people working on films with him and like personally hand delivers them and shit. And he's a super nice guy. You know, everything about
Well, I've heard good things about him.
I've never heard a story about like Kevin Smith is a total fucking asshole or whatever the fuck.
You ever heard the rumors that Kevin Smith's into crushing small animals to get off?
Oh, really?
I didn't know. I just made that shit up, dude. It's not
what
real.
the fuck?
So, like I said, Kevin Smith said his meeting with Chevy was a disaster.
I'm sure.
At the lunch, Chevy went on to claim that he invented every funny thing that ever happened in the history of not just comedy, but also the known world.
That sounds like someone I know, honestly.
Yep. Who? Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Just a guy you know?
I'm just not going to... Yeah, someone I know.
I think I might know him, too. You ever sat down with somebody who claimed responsibility for stuff he did and didn't do?
Yeah, I have.
He's like, it's really off-putting.
It is. That's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Chase later accused Smith of lying to him.
Oh.
This is some correspondence from Chase to Smith.
Okay.
It's been almost a year since my meeting with Universal. During that time... Oh, no, sorry. This is Smith talking about it. So it had been almost a year since his meeting with Universal and Chevy Chase. During that time, he hadn't spoken to Chevy. Certainly not because he was Hollywood, but more because he was in the midst of making a very un-Hollywood movie. So he was making Dogma at this point.
Okay.
So after 2 years, Chevy said this to him. After 2 years, I was called by Alan Greisman, producer of the Fletch film, saying Kevin doesn't want to do it, period. Alan Greisman was the producer on the first 2 Fletch flicks. He was going to be taking third chair on Son of Fletch behind Grazier and Mosier. I guess Alan
Don't make no son of
there. That was the name of this. I guess Alan was called about the no-go after Grazier. However, it wasn't 2 years since my Chevy meeting. It hadn't even been a year, really. Kevin says. Chevy again went on to say, so I waited, now it's 3. So I waited there for 3 friggin' years to hear from someone else that Kevin Smith was, for all practical purposes, lying to me to begin with, having written nothing, rudely deceiving me, and with no apparent concern for how easily facile one can be hurt by another human being and have his family hurt, or whatever the fuck.
His family.
Oh, hide the family, dude.
And then Kevin wrote a blog post about this, and he went on to say, look, I'm sorry the flick didn't happen. However, I wasn't lying to the guy. I did want to make that flick. He said he did want to make that flick, but I was dedicated to Dogma, and I had to make a choice. I chose Dogma. I didn't rudely deceive the inventor of all things comedic since the start of time. I wanted to make a movie, and it didn't pan out. That meeting certainly didn't prevent him from taking other jobs if they were available. It's not like I said to the man, do absolutely nothing until this flick happens. So, pissed off Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a famous story that I found the guy that it actually happened to telling here on a late night show.
So this is Rob Hubel? Is that
Rob Hubel is his name.
Hubel.
He's been in a few movies, nothing that I really recognize, so not a huge actor, but he had a run-in with Chevy that I found to be kind of funny.
We also have guest monologists come to Ask Cat, and a couple
Let's see if
times
I
Chevy
recognize
Chase
this
came,
guy.
Yes.
which was the biggest deal, especially for our
I don't know him.
generation.
Oh, man. I mean, I grew up the biggest Chevy Chase fan. I mean, I really wanted to be Chevy Chase. When my brothers and I, we knew every line to Fletch and everything. And so I never get starstruck. But Chevy was at UCB, and we were going to do the show together. And so I thought, well, I got to say hi to him. So I went up to him. I was like, Chevy, I just want to say, I'm a big fan. I'm Rob Hubel. And Chevy just hauled off and slapped me across the face so hard. I mean, it was like,
What the fuck?
I saw red. Like, my first instinct was just to be like, "Hoppa!" and like, defend myself. But and then he kind of made a joke like, hey, can't you see I'm talking to somebody, kid? Or something like that,
Right.
And a lot of people thought, oh, that's not so cool, Chevy. But for me, he was like my hero, so I was like, that's awesome.
Right.
I mean, he's a comedy idol.
Slapped by a hero.
Slapped by my hero. And one day, if I play my cards right, I'm going to get to slap some young guy.
Yeah. And then you could say, like, that slap came from Chevy Chase.
Yeah, just
paying it forward.
Just paying it forward, bro.
So I actually think that the guy, Rob Hubel here, is doing Chevy a service, because when this story actually first came out, it would just kind of fed the image of Chevy as this guy that nobody likes, that he's just instantly an asshole no matter what the context is.
I mean, if I would never. I mean, I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole. I feel like you guys are both assholes.
Yeah.
We're all assholes to some extent or another.
Of course, yes.
I can't imagine being enough of an asshole that if someone came up to me and was like, hey, you know, I'm a big fan or whatever, and me just being like, slap you in the face, get out of here.
You will pull somebody's cochlear implant out, though.
That was not malicious. That was just idiocy.
Right.
I've seen plenty of people that come up to TJ, and he's never slapped him in the
I've never
face.
slapped nobody. I've never been.
I think Scotty might slap somebody in the face in that context.
I mean,
like if Scotty was having an important conversation and somebody walked up to him on the wrong moment, I could see Scotty turning on a dime and slapping somebody in the face. I could see it happen.
What do you think, Scott? You think you do that?
Probably.
You think you would?
I don't know if he ever will, but I could, like, if I heard that Scotty had done that, I would not be shocked.
I guess you're probably right.
So here's premise number 2, and we can discuss it.
Okay, premise number 2.
And I have a video to kind of back this one up.
You do, okay.
And this will be a longer discussion because this part, I think, really merits some discussion.
Okay.
So my second premise, Chevy Chase is hated because he holds a grudge. Now, before we discuss that, I have a video that I want us to watch, and it's an older video.
Okay.
Of younger Chevy Chase. And this is really also my best showpiece for attractive Chevy, by the way, if you want to take a look at this video. He's on the Dick Cavett show, and he's kind of having a lighthearted conversation about cocaine. And we'll go through it. Go ahead and play it.
Tell me, I'm interested because I did it. Well, this is a dangerous thing to say because I don't know my taping air schedule. But as I sit here now, which of course is not real time, I just taped a couple of shows on cocaine, and a lady from California was talking about the scene out there. Is it true that Bruce Dern is probably the only clean actor in Hollywood these days, or one would get that impression at a party?
He doesn't smell that clean. I don't go to a lot of Bruce's cocaine parties. I understand he gives a lot of them. They run, and then they do cocaine. I don't...
I mean, he sat and lied to
I don't know
me
why you would... Let me just get this. It has to be something like...
See, this is so weird because the Chevy Chase here versus the Chevy Chase trying to interview people like Goldie Hawn.
He's a great interview
not even
on this
guy.
side of it.
Yeah,
but even in this interview, what you're watching now is Chevy working the crowd real good, doing his Chevy Chase thing. But it kind of, as this goes on,
does it kind of
it falls apart, and some real animosity is seen. Below the surface. In fact, not even below the surface.
Just right on the surface. But
so
right
this
now,
guy he's talking about, by the way, Bruce Dern, was an actor buddy of his who he also famously feuded with. And he's been asked now if he's going to Bruce's cocaine parties.
Right.
So right now he's being jokey about it. But let's watch a little more.
Well, as of now, though, at least, it seems, I mean, he's...
good-natured.
He's making a joke of it.
I mean, he doesn't really seem good-natured, but he seems interesting, and he definitely is... The crowd is identifying with him enough to laugh at what he's doing.
He seems dismissive, and the crowd's kind of feeding into it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think people are feeling it, what he's laying down right now. I mean, obviously, it's not just nervous laughter coming out of the crowd or anything. It's, there's a genuine connection.
Well, keep watching.
That,
but I'm assuming it's going to fade.
I don't think that is that prevalent out there. It's darn hard to get it. But it's an interesting question.
Is it? It is. Yes.
Let's talk misdemeanor.
I'll use it elsewhere sometime. There's no chance of getting
I don't
you
think
to
that
talk.
is true, actually.
No.
I think Bruce takes a great deal of. I really have no idea where that came from or why.
He sat here one time and swore that he was as clean as.
Well, you know what gets me? First of all, he's our age.
Right.
And he looks 50. Now the man, I like him very much. When I say our age, of course, I mean my age.
You mean our combined age? No.
But
what should we pick on?
Yeah, it is getting a little mean.
Yeah, it just he's about to now he's about to lose the crowd.
Runs 15, 20 miles a day.
He's talking about Bruce Dern.
And of course, no one's ever heard of him as a runner. So it's equivalent, but people ask him advice on running. He must be a great runner. He runs 15 miles. And man, it's like a man playing 8 hours of tennis every day, and he's still so bad that you just don't hear about him. You never know who he is. He doesn't play in any tournaments, and or he plays in a lot and loses. And you ask him advice, like, what do you do with your serve? I don't know, 15 hours a day, and I'm still this bad. It sort of always interested me.
That's a side of you that I haven't seen. I don't suppose any chance of getting you to talk seriously about the what could I call it, the rumored animosity that your friends on Saturday Night Live were supposed to have felt when you left, and they thought maybe you endangered their careers and yours, perhaps.
I can talk about that, seriously. Yeah. Here?
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I don't know what the rumors are. I haven't been in New York much. I get calls, and they say, Chev, we heard this and that, and I must say that they're right. There was some animosity, but it was only Belushi, and I believe if you ask him about it, you'll hear. He's learning to eat with his mouth now, though. So. There wasn't any. There was just a lot of. I think
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
well, he's
Belushi maybe, but
he's about to undermine that statement.
A little bit of elitism up there when I was last up there.
Okay, you're way more elitist than
what
yeah.
That's pretty fucking obvious.
Cornelius.
The feeling was we're the only TV show in New York, and they're just about right. Of course, there's this one. No, I guess they're the only.
He's speaking statistically, of course.
But it wasn't nearly as what people had thought. It lasted for about a minute before the show, and ruined my performance, I guess, for a good half hour. And then it was over with. I wouldn't say who it was. It wasn't John or anybody else. It was just a general feeling that I wanted to kick the living daylights out of a few of the people there.
I see. Well, I for a moment, I thought you wouldn't be serious about that, and you surprised me.
Well, I didn't get detailed because it's just not fair to Gilda.
Besides, you don't have the nerve to
Who
use
has a
real name.
foul mouth.
So he recovers out of it.
Yeah,
but you can tell
I
that
feel like
a flash of that anger.
Yeah.
And
Oh
rage.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, like, you definitely feel the simmering sort of fucking rage monster that's inside.
So not
there.
only did he just kind of leave that show unceremoniously for money, by his own admission, but then he felt hard done by at the back end that people were pissed about that.
Right.
And it bruised his ego even more to know that people were shit-talking him. So that's my premise, is that a lot of his asshole-ish nature comes from this inability to let things go.
Yeah.
And that kind of personality trait has spread into the national consciousness about him, and it has fed these rumors, or obviously not rumors, that he is an asshole.
I think Scotty touched upon something earlier that really kind of struck a chord with me, is that he really does come across as a dude who can dish it out but can't take it.
Yes.
Like, there does seem to be a feeling of he's allowed to say anything to you. He's allowed to hurt you in any way he wants, but if you do anything in reciprocal to that,
how dare you?
Then you're a fucking piece of shit and you're a monster, and how could you even
how could you be upset that he left
harming poor sensitive Chevy?
Yeah, how could you be upset that he left the show without, one of its main stars? How could you be so upset about that? He look, he did it for money. You should have been smarter. You should have taken the deal. You didn't do it. You're not as smart as him.
Well, Chevy, after the 90s, basically didn't do much going into the early 2000s. He continued to do cameos and film, and he made
just
a couple,
barely enough to keep himself out there.
I mean, he really started to fade from the national consciousness in the early 2000s. He was no longer really a fresh face anymore, obviously, and not really well remembered despite his contributions, because I think of the things that we've talked about here tonight.
Just tainted by assholery.
This is a picture of Chevy as he appeared on the 2002 Friars Club roast of Chevy Chase that was televised on Comedy Central at the time.
This is great.
And it may be the only thing Chevy Chase been involved with professionally where he didn't end up pissing anybody else off.
This, by the way, is this roast is where I first kind of heard about Chevy Chase as an asshole.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of coverage of this event that was from the angle of, like, look at all the stuff this guy has done and accomplished, and look at how B-listy this roast is. Look at how few of the people he's actually worked with have showed up.
Oh, dude, a lot of these big roasts are like, they have fucking tons of A-list celebrities. They got fucking some of the biggest comedians out there. Just
this guy has worked with tons of A-list celebrities.
Yeah, you figure they would all be turning out to fucking be like, hey, let's fuck on him.
So it may be the best and saddest evidence of how few friends Chevy has left. Almost no one from the original Saturday Night Live cast showed up. Paul Schaefer, a member of the band, emceed it. He was the only one. And the comedians who did the show weren't exactly close friends of Chevy's, and were unbelievably cruel, not to mention kind of unfunny. I caught this on TV at the time. This is somebody else writing, of course, without really having a sense of how widely hated Chevy was. But at the end, there was literally no question that nobody liked him.
Right.
I found an article here.
By the way, one person who actually does like Chevy didn't show up to this roast, but actually will defend him.
Maybe that's why he liked. Maybe it's because he liked Chevy that he didn't show up.
Yeah. But one person who will defend Chevy Chase, and I've seen him do it in interviews, is Bill Murray.
Well, that's nice. It's nice to know that those two guys have patched up whatever animosity they had.
Apparently, he's over the moon crater face thing or whatever the fuck.
That barb was delivered after Bill Murray, pissed off at how worked up and dictatorial Chevy was being on set, told him to go home and fuck his wife. So Bill Murray said, "Hey, Chevy, why don't you go home and fuck your wife and come back?" And then Chevy said, "Your face looks like something Neil Armstrong landed on." And there was a tussle, apparently, according to them, fist fight that broke out.
All I know is that these days, Bill Murray will defend Chevy Chase.
Well, that's nice to know. He's the bigger man then.
He is. That's probably why he still has a career.
I found this article from Slate back in 2002.
Okay.
Written by a woman named Virginia Hefferman. It's called The Meanest Roast.
Right.
And then the subtitle is Chevy Chase Humiliated Again.
Okay.
And I'm going to read you a couple paragraphs from it because I thought it was particularly well written and kind of in the spirit of the tone of the show we're doing now.
Right.
The abrasive insult comic Lisa Lampanelli flaunted her libido and her weight, belting out sailor talk, pointing at Chase saying, "That guy's so gay that my ass hurts."
Okay.
Some of her other jokes concerned her own obesity, but she wasn't fat enough to pull them off. Lorraine Newman charged Chase with meanness, drug use, and abject failure. Oldie Richard Belzer summed things up with his super scripted punchline, "The only time Chevy Chase has a funny bone in his body is when I fuck him up the ass."
Okay.
Geez, I'd been ready to laugh, but I eased off as Chase in sunglasses brooked the insults, and a full tragic portrait of the enigmatic Wastrel emerged. Arrogant young comic, former addict, maker of failed family movies, the shards of Chase's persona almost seemed too negligible to put together, much less take apart again. But then I began to wonder if there were in any way, in light of the fact that so many people now openly revile him, to admire Chevy Chase again, if for no other reason than that someone ought to.
Is that what
Yes.
Did that become your
I really identified. I found this quote later in the research. I was already kind of going down the road of trying to help Chevy here, even though I may not have done that much so far in the show. But that I really liked that little summation of this roast. I have seen it. It isn't particularly funny, and it is horribly mean. And he just sits there with this look on his face the entire time. You know he's pissed. You know he's hurt. But he just kind of takes it. And then his rebuttal, which is his chance to get some back in and maybe make it funny again. He was weak and kind of limp-wristed, and he was like, "Fuck you all," and he left, and that was it. So he ended up just showing up to be berated by people he didn't know, whose careers would never even come close to his own. You know what I mean? It's just a real humiliating kind of thing, you can tell. Really, the only thing of note that he did in the 21st century was Community. I don't know if you guys ever watched this show.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it. I know it was by...
it's by Dan Harmon.
Yeah, one of the guys behind Rick and Morty, who himself is kind of a prick.
Right, which, comes into play here.
Oh, does it?
Of course.
I know that they had some beef.
They definitely did. As, it appears Chevy has beef with everybody he works with.
Yeah, it doesn't really... It seems like he's not too great at getting along with anybody.
So show creator Dan Harmon, himself reputedly a sensitive and vindictive prick, has been embroiled in a weirdly public feud with Chase almost since the start of the show. So this wasn't like they worked together for a while and shit fell apart.
No, this was almost...
They immediately hit each other.
Yeah, pilot episode, they're already at each other's throats.
The pilot episode.
And really, one of the things that seems to have poisoned it, I kind of read both of their accounts of this, trying to, because, you know, if you're talking two assholes, you're not going to get the truth.
Yeah,
because they're both going to fucking paint themselves as like, I was the good guy.
Try to parse through and see the common threads that they both talked about.
But what I could, the common thread seemed to be that Chevy seemed kind of put off or insulted by the fact that his character, Pierce Hawthorne, was basically Chevy Chase. Just this kind of vindictive asshole that hates everybody, that ends up being hated by everybody that he works with. Yeah. He basically was typecast to play himself in the role, and people knew it, and it seems to have really irked Chevy, and Chevy fought back by bitching about scripts and what time he got the scripts, and he was just constantly nattering Dan Harmon. But really, to listen to both of them talk, I think that was the core of the problem. Is that Chevy knew he had been cast as himself in the show, saw what an unrepentant asshole the character of Pierce Hawthorne was and how he was hated by everyone around him in the show, saw the reflection of his life there, and wanted it to be different.
Or resented it.
Right, and resented Dan Harmon for being...
honest.
So incisive, though, and as to be able to look at Chevy Chase's life and find a way to just slap another name on him.
Like, if I'm going to write this character and have him be true and have him be good to this role, like, what kind of character does it need to be? Like, obviously, if he's supposed to be some loving character, he's not going to work like that. So, Dan Harmon, whatever you could say, was definitely incisive and on the money with when he cast Chevy Chase and when they wrote for him.
So their sniping turned into a full-on confrontation one time when Harmon, who was still smarting from an on-set spat over a late script, gave a very public fuck you to Chase at a party in front of his wife and daughter. And then leaked a hilariously profane voicemail that Chevy left him, which I pulled.
Yes.
I think I pulled it.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, you know what? I didn't. Here's why I didn't pull it.
What?
The only fucking copy, because Dan Harmon has apologized for releasing it and has pulled all his. The only copy I could find of it was this screeching, horrible, like audio dub, because I guess probably Dan Harmon has filed copyright. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
But Chevy just basically unleashes a litany of fucking insults at Dan Harmon over the phone, calling him a fat piece of shit, and you know what I mean, bitching about how his writing is really bad, shitty, ultra stinko, and how late he is with the scripts, and how impossible it is to work for such a stupid, fat, bloated fucking idiot. And I mean, he just literally, and this is in the middle of the show. They're still working together. You know, this isn't like right before Chevy leaves. This is going on throughout the show. You know what I mean?
Right. These guys have to still work together after this shit.
Right. And Chevy Chase eventually left the show in 2012 due to these issues. His character was killed off. And I found the exact same thing that I found with the SNL cast members. Nobody has anything nice to say about Chevy. They all found him to be abrasive and standoffish and asshole-ish and hair-triggered, and you know, and some of them were nicer. I didn't pull any of their shit because they're not, you know. I mean, we've heard enough people shit on Chevy Chase tonight.
They don't occupy the legendary.
And some of them were nicer than others about it, and some of them seem to have feuded less. I guess Childish Gambino, who kind of got his break on this show, or for better or for worse. Particularly, I guess he was felt singled out by racial humor a lot by Chevy Chase. He mentioned that.
Right.
You know, but all of them basically told the same tale of just an asshole.
Right.
Just a guy that you can't approach.
The same guy that we've been talking about the guy we know Chevy Chase to be.
Right. So a few years later, and actually, if you want, I pulled a clip of two douchebags that are actually bigger douchebags than Chevy Chase, taking him to task.
Okay.
Yeah. For this.
Chevy Chase has really disappeared from the spotlight after developing a
reputation
take down
for being
a jerk.
Picture.
And that's putting it lightly. He had a falling out on the show Community, where he eventually left that show, and we haven't really seen him since.
Now Chevy is speaking to the Washington Post. Do we have to explain who Chevy Chase is?
Sure.
Maybe you can explain who you are.
Yeah.
Faggot.
Yeah, like, who are these two idiots?
The Christmas Vacation, you see him on TV once a year. Other than that, nobody knows who Chevy Chase is anymore. Nobody knows.
We know. We just did a show.
We know, buddy.
So maybe we're bringing Chevy Chase back.
Dude, E.T. Canada's a lot meaner than E.T. in the U.S.
Yeah.
Not only that, but who the hell are these two douchebags?
I don't know.
Two douchebags.
There's two douchebags.
Yep.
Douchebag.
Nobody knows who Chevy Chase is anymore.
No one knows who you are.
Slamming the show that started his career, that was, of course, Saturday Night Live, with season 44 set to premiere next week. Chevy says the show has gone downhill after the first 2 years it was on the air. Coincidentally, that's when Chevy left the show.
Oh, how convenient. Now, Chevy tells the Post, I don't want to put Lauren or down Lauren or the cast, but I'll just say, maybe off the record, I'm amazed that Lauren has gone so low. I had to watch a little of it. I just couldn't effing believe it.
Yeah, and then when Chevy is reminded...
I would say that...
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't either. I think SNL is horrible now.
It is unwatchable.
So...
Literally unwatchable.
Yeah, and actually, we're eagerly awaiting Rob Schneider's fucking response.
Well, they quote him some more, and let's see if we disagree with any of the other things he says.
Tons of viewers and just won a bunch more Emmys this year. He says,
"Oh, well, that means it's good then."
That means a whole generation of crapheads.
They didn't say. He said shitheads.
Crapheads.
Crapheads.
Laughs at the worst effing humor in the world. You know what I mean? How could you dare give that generation whose crap than they already have?
Worst crap.
Worst crap.
Great read, by the way.
Crap.
You're great at your job. I love that you are sitting here fucking taking a man who had a career that you could only fucking dream of and fucking up your only job, which is to read what's put in front of you. You talentless hack piece of fucking shit.
That means-
when I saw this fucking thing, I knew I couldn't do a negative episode on Chevy. I'm not joining these motherfuckers. Nope. You might have heard some negative shit about Chevy Chase in this episode, but I am not sitting on the fucking desk with these two fucking pieces of shit.
In their lives, it just drives me nuts.
Now, here we go. Chevy also comments on some of the past SNL cast members.
Yeah.
So Will Ferrell, he says, just not funny, makes $25 million a picture. Tina
Agreed.
Fey, he says, I like Tina. I didn't see what all the photo was about. She was good.
Chevy's thoughts on Kristen Wiig are this. I liked her a lot. She had two things going for her. She had clear-cut chops, and I bet you can guess what the second thing was. Yes, she was pretty, too.
Oh, what a horrible thing to say.
What a piece of garbage. What trash.
Oh, the
Where
big
did she
sigh
go?
when he had to
Eddie
read
Murphy,
that.
he says, I
Chevy
thought
Chase
Eddie Murphy
ain't
was
woke.
funny. Gumby, I found that funny, and people loved it. Stevie Wonder, he did well. It's not that hard, for Christ's sake. Your skin's the same color. You just
Definitely
put on some
not woke.
glasses. Do this.
I'm sure that when he said do this, he was doing the...
the Stevie Wonder
What
head wobble
the fuck,
thing.
dude? What the fuck? Chevy Chase, not only is ableist, he's also racist.
Yeah,
Racist,
and
ableist,
misogynist.
Sexist. He's definitely sexist.
All of it. He's horrible.
I mean, he
A horrible
probably
person.
is.
He
most
runs
of
the
those things,
gamut,
but-
dude. He runs
So
the
does
fucking
Chevy have a
gamut.
valid opinion, or does he just come off as bitter? Here's what Chevy says about the perception of him now.
It's hard to believe that you don't understand that there's this perception of you as being that way.
It's jealousy. I've said that to you before, but it's like, you can't really say that. Did you just say that writers writing anything negative is jealousy? Yeah, I did. What kind of jealousy? I'm funnier than them? Yeah, I guess maybe. I'm considered good looking? Yeah.
I don't know about now.
Chevy, you're living like 30
he still
years.
thinks he is.
You're
though.
living 30 years in the past, dude. I know you're like a fucking multi-millionaire many times over, so you can insulate yourself and think like, I still got it, but dude, you're like grandpa now.
Yeah, I mean, you're an old
Your
man.
grandpa goes, jealous of me. Oh,
I mean,
jealous of me, guys.
You're not a bad-looking 75-year-old man, but you're still a 75-year-old man.
75.
I mean, you're not.
You're Grandpa Chevy now.
Grandpa Chevy.
The panties ain't getting thrown up on the stage no more.
Yeah.
You know?
Probably not.
There you have it.
There is no stage no more.
I'm Chevy. Go yourself.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
Know who I am, who know me. And I'm proud to be who I am. Listen, I love that you're doing this. I love that I'm trying so hard to look.
He's pretty tall.
Yeah, he's a tall dude.
Yeah. And I love that I actually think I am okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
That
So
you
you got
can
an
write
okay
whatever
house.
you want.
Close your fucking fridge.
Nah, he doesn't have to.
That's just how he cools his house.
Yeah.
Don't give a
Look,
shit.
you've shown me what other people have written over
listed
the
at
years.
6'4".
It ain't too good.
Cool.
But look, I still did a lot of movies, and I still could star in a show if I want. I still, I've gotten to a place where it doesn't really matter what people write or say, because it's only an instant of an instant of my life.
Okay.
Oh, Chevy. So
I don't think he fully accepts it there.
Yeah, I don't think. It seems like there's a little bit of delusion going on.
For sure.
Whatever.
So the last time, and you can put a picture of Chevy back up so we don't have to stare at these fucking douchebags anymore.
Good stuff.
The last time Chevy was in the news was in 2016 when he went back to rehab. He'd been to rehab once before, or at least. Chevy has checked himself into rehab for what his rep calls a tune-up to address an alcohol-related issue.
Drinking too much.
Yeah, the actor who was announced Monday he is seeking help at the Addiction Treatment Center in Minnesota. Previously sought treatment at the Betty Ford Center in the early 80s as for a painkiller addiction. Though the actor, who at this time was 72, has remained largely private about his struggles with addiction, he wrote to an open letter to the New York Times in 2007 as a tribute to President Gerald Ford, who he used to, famously lampoon. The actor was known for impersonating the late president on Saturday Night Live, but Chase also took the time to thank the statesman's wife, former First Lady Betty Ford, for the difference she made in his life. If it hadn't been for the courage of Mr. Ford's wife, Betty, for admitting her alcohol problem, I never would have received the help I needed in the early 80s at the Betty Ford Clinic, located not far from the Ford residence near Palm Springs, he wrote. At the time, Chase's agent told the Times the actor had developed a dependency on prescription drugs relating to chronic and long-term back problems, some of it stemming from his stint as a cast member on SNL. He used to do a lot of pratfalls. That was his thing. So, during my short stay there, I often saw Mrs. Ford personally surveying the clinic and generously offering a helping hand to those who were lucky enough to face their problems. And with the learned help of the clinic staff, appraised their behavior and their lifestyles. So he was very much helped by rehab. He checked himself back in 2016. He's now out and says that he is sober and ready to work again.
I don't think anyone's ready to work with him.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be kind of the sad and tragic tale. But there are directors and creators out there who don't mind working with a tough personality.
Yeah, and I did see that he's working with he did some movie with Richard Dreyfuss.
Two old time or older now deceased directors that were very good at handling bad actors. We talked about one of them here, Stanley Kubrick. Another
because Stanley Kubrick was a bigger prick
right.
than anybody.
And of course, and it really takes that. You know what I mean? There's a certain
sometimes it takes a prick to wrangle other pricks.
There's a certain type A personality thing going on here with Chevy. I think that you'll find a lot in people that direct movies and make movies and act in them, and just that industry.
I mean, they don't look like huge movies, but it looks like he's got some movies on his impending IMDb roster. So.
He's doing something.
He's going to be. He just did that Last Laugh movie with Richard Dreyfuss, who I didn't even know was still alive. Honestly,
learn something new.
He's going to be in some movie called Panda vs. Aliens.
All right.
As the voice of King Karath. Cool.
So he's doing some voiceover.
Kind of animated movie. I don't know how high budget. Probably not very.
Doesn't sound like it.
Overnight Visit. He's going to play U.S. Senator Abram Naismith.
Oh, he's getting all the old man roles.
Yeah.
And then in Federal Offense, he's going to play Grandpa.
So, yeah. Grandpa.
Crotchety Grandpa.
Grandpa Chase. You may ask me, wherein is the redemption, Paul? Chevy is mean, rude, lacks self-awareness, and hasn't made a good movie in 30 years or more. And I ask you to watch this speech from Chevy at the 2017 SNL Hall of Fame Awards.
Okay, and I'm going to have to skip a little forward in this video.
The rewards. Yeah, it's at 9 minutes and 30
seconds. Yeah.
And so is when Chevy starts his spiel.
30. So here he goes. There's Bill, and there's Dan Aykroyd.
Who is it? Mrs. Carlins. Who? Dr. Coles.
So he's referencing that may seem silly, but he's referencing a sketch that he did on SNL. You remember the land shark?
Yeah, I figured it was something like that.
So he did. Their Jaws was a huge movie at the time when SNL came out. So they did a sketch where a shark would come and knock on some woman's door and whisper at the door different things until she opened it, and then this big puppet would come.
I feel like we're at the old folks' home at this point, dude.
Well, hey, man. I mean, these guys.
These guys are
old now. I mean, what you gonna do?
But I still feel that. I feel like there are some nurses waiting off on the side.
There probably are.
Like
Dan Aykroyd is a fucking nut job.
Yeah.
He's totally crazy.
He's fucking no. How old is Dan Aykroyd now? He's got
Dan Aykroyd's probably around the same age as Chevy Chase.
I mean,
he
looks pretty good for 75.
Well, he's still dyeing his hair. That makes a big difference.
He still has that delusion going on.
I can check out Dan Aykroyd's age if you want. I'll keep playing this.
Shark and stupid person in the
66.
chair opening the door.
He's a little younger.
Most
about 9
fun I
years
ever
younger.
had writing and being with that huge thing. It's been stolen, what, twice or 2 or 3 times somehow.
He's got
out
that
of the
whistle in
attic
his voice
my
now
house.
too.
Yeah.
Stole nothing else. It just got into the attic when we were gone, and it was gone. I don't know who to thank. It's difficult because
I feel like it's like an SNL sketch for Bernie Sanders, dude.
Yeah, he does kind of look like Bernie.
He's like Bernie now, dude.
They could have him on SNL to do Bernie. Yeah.
We found the new Bernie.
Yeah.
He's not. But Bernie definitely has better energy than this. But
he does.
He's
John
dead,
is
almost
gone,
dead on
Gilda's
for a Bernie
gone.
foe.
And they were,
in my view,
they were the embodiment of the talent in that cast and the danger. I remember a sketch where John was a director, directing a picture or something, and I was in it, and Gilda was in it in the picture, and he would go, "Cut," and he'd come up, and he'd say, "Chevy," and he'd say, "Okay." Then he'd go to Gilda, he'd say, "Bam!" He'd slap her in the face, and she'd go all the way into the wall, and he just kept doing that, and Gilda kept bouncing back, and okay, Mr. Director, bam! My God, that stuff is funny. It's I can't tell you.
Abusing women and misogyny is funny.
On that stage, doing that stuff. Ah, God, it was fun. I tell you, I'd do it again in a minute, but I was only on the cast for about a minute, so made a big mistake leaving. Thank you very much. Mostly thanks to Danny and John and Gilda and Lorraine and Jane and what's his name? Garrett. Ready, Garrett? Our top story tonight.
Our top story tonight.
So that was a little bit they did on the Weekend Update together.
Thank you so much.
So, a little bit of, the last news story we watched was him shitting on SNL, but it seems this later, this is the latest video, really, that I think I could find of him. 2017, so not that long ago. And that seemed, you heard him there. He was very muted about it. It seems like it was almost hard for him to say, but it was a mistake to leave, and I never should have left.
It only took him a lifetime to get to that point.
But he got there.
Hey, you know what, though, TJ? It might take a lifetime to climb that mountain, but maybe Chevy Chase now is a good fucking guy.
So we can talk briefly about my third and final premise.
Okay.
And this is the one that I think sticks.
This is the one you think sticks?
Yep. Premise number 3. Most people don't know quite why they hate Chevy Chase because they shouldn't.
Okay.
And I really think that, honestly, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that because he's been an asshole, that he should be universally reviled by people?
Look, I admire too many people who I know to be assholes to think that that's a good reason to dismiss someone, especially in the realm of the arts.
Right.
I love the music of Marilyn Manson. I know that guy's an asshole.
Sure.
I love the films of Stanley Kubrick. We were just talking about what a colossal asshole he was. I've liked too many people that I just know. I've liked the work of too many people that I just know are complete assholes.
It's really easy to put a magnifying glass to someone's life and examine it and say, this is where you're an asshole, this is where you fucked up, this is where you fucked up. So overall,
obviously,
when you're out, you're a bad person.
Obviously, he's a difficult guy, but I mean, like,
he's definitely an asshole.
He's got
indisputable.
He's got talent, and I think that whatever you want to say about his later works or whatever the fuck. I think that there's a legacy there that just fucking stands the test of time. It might not be the greatest legacy,
But it's worth mentioning and noting and respecting and appreciating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely.
So I got a little closing thought here that I wrote.
Go ahead.
Perhaps I didn't sway you. Perhaps a litany of personal failures was not the best way to heal the image of Chevy Chase in the eyes of my co-hosts and my audience. To that point, I answer thusly. For any personal failing to be forgiven, it must be addressed openly and in the sunlight. I did not attempt to sweep Chevy's problems under the rug, nor did I seek to excuse his boorish and self-serving behavior. All I know is this. After all this research, I forgive him. For it truly does take a lonely, bitter, regretful, hard-headed, pompous, careless, and occasionally mean asshole to know one. I feel that Chevy, whether you like it or not, is one of us. Maybe a closeted neckbeard, a pessimist, a human being who goes his own way and who doesn't wait for permission. Do what you want with what's left of Chevy. I, for one, will not bury him in the same mass grave as Carrot Top. I stand with the assholes, the misfits, and the misanthropes. I hold myself in solidarity with the pessimists, the nihilists, and the ne'er-do-wells. I take up for the person that hurts another person's feelings and then suffers with regret because I'm human and I felt both ends of that sting. I stand behind the person that furtively holds a grudge because I know the searing pain of the grudge bearer. Chevy is no Rob Schneider. Hate him if you must, but don't forget if he ever made you laugh. And don't forget that you too may one day be old, bitter, in need of even one person to take up for you when others won't. So that's all I have on Chevy Chase tonight, ladies and gentlemen. A man redeemed.
I like it.
A man redeemed.
I don't even know that there was necessarily anything to redeem.
Yeah, there was.
He was portrayed as an asshole, and he is an asshole.
We redeemed the nature of the asshole as something that can be celebrated.
Yeah. And I don't, I didn't, I never, when I suggested this episode, I never wanted it to be treated the same way as
beautiful
like
Okay, TJ.
You wanted the beautiful
I just wanted to
destruction of
revel in
Chevy
what a
Chase.
prick he is.
No, you wanted the
because
beautiful
he's a total
destruction.
prick.
He is a prick.
He
And
is
we
a
get
prick.
and we did get to revel in his
Look,
prickishness.
But it's so fucking easy for people to look at other people, especially famous people, and say, what an asshole, what a piece of shit. Man, look at your own fucking life and tell me you haven't done some asshole shit. And it's just so fucking easy to judge people. And it's like, I just don't feel it's fair to... And like, look, he wasn't fucking Adolf Hitler.
No.
He made some asshole decisions. He fucking did some shit to make money. He was obviously very crass about it, and he made these decisions based on monetary wealth and the accumulation of his stardom and power. And he obviously was self-centered, and now he's looking back on his life, and he's going, you know what? I made a lot of bad decisions, and he's tried to make amends with some of the people that he wronged. I mean, I think that maybe he can't be redeemed necessarily, or doesn't need to be redeemed, but at least at that point, he's made an effort. He's done a lot. There's a lot of people that never try, and at least even if it's the twilight of his life, he's at least made that effort. I think you should applaud him at least for that.
I agree. I totally agree.
I think that's a good closing statement.
All right.
Thank
Hope you guys enjoyed
for
it.
watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.